Okay. Yeah, good morning, class. Right. Now, before we start with today's class, that is Unit 7, couple of small things we need to discuss. I was telling at the beginning today the things that we're going to talk about today. First, that comes up is with your exams, like uh, I think most of you have, I think most of you, if not all, have seen the quinsel where it has been said right there have were some possibilities, some options that was given. One was definitely with class starting of classes on June, which is not happening, you all know that. So the next option that is there is with July. So if July classes are starting, then you all would be here. How it's going to happen, when it's going to happen, we really do not know. And then the exams we will have, the classes that we'll have here will be a 1 month, which is basically to revise with you all, clarify your doubts, not to teach anything. Okay, which is why I will finish your syllabus by the end of this month. We have two more chapters. Today I'm starting with Unit 7. So today and next week I'll finish. And the last 2 weeks of June I'll finish Unit 8. So that if July we start classes, there'll be revision. So you all are requested to actually start going through your syllabus. Okay, start going through it, see what your doubts, queries are, so that in July we can have a total revision clarification, so that you know. And that's what Ruby has said. If July starting classes start means we will have classes for a month, and then we have your semester end exams, which will happen here. Okay, so this is what the scenario is. And if by chance July classes do not happen, so we really do not know at this situation what's happening, then exams, you will have your final exams, but the RUB is going to decide on how that exam is going to happen. Okay, so but in any case, you know, you should be aware of this, and please keep it very much clear in your head. You will have your final exams, right? When and how, it's we really do not know. But which is the reason why I'm saying you should start studying. It's a huge syllabus. Don't blame me. I have nothing to do with designing the syllabus. Okay, so it is there, and we RUB syllabus, and we have to follow it. And you all will also have to study and get through with it. So you all should start studying. Whatever doubts, queries you have, note it down. This is the first thing. Second thing that comes up is, right, you all very well know today is the last graded assessment that we have. So I will discuss with you in our class, today's class, how after the classes get, my today's topic gets over, I'll discuss with you how to go about with it. And I would hope everyone would be doing it quite well. Okay, so this is one thing. And then the rest of the three classes that we will have in June, right? So there will be a class activity followed by, after the class, and these will be part of your class participation. Now you already got your marks till May, class participation marks. If you really want to improve your class participation marks, it's up to you. This is in your hands. Okay, so you will have to attend classes and have to submit all these assessments on time, the class activities on time. If you're not there, you saw that you lost marks, right? So of these three, the last 3 week that we have in June, those assess the in-class activity, I'll actually give you some grades. Like here, what was happening in class activity, you were getting 2 points for actually doing the work. And if you missed, you were marked 0 on that day, or you got 0 because you were marked absent. But the last 3 weeks that we have class activity, I'm actually going to grade you out of 5 each of these 3 days, so you can score. Okay, so it's up to you how you want to go about with it. It's your choice. The marks is with you, it's in your hands, so it's up to you how you want to go about with this. Okay, so this is basically certain the things which I want to make it very clear with you. Now before we actually start the classes, the discussion on Unit 7, a little on your work in class activity that you all had done the last week. A couple of you did not do it. You all know that very well who did not, and you were marked absent. I said I'm not going to follow up on you, right? You are grown-ups, you should take responsibilities now, okay? And those who have written it, like it was like a good that I mean I was reading, I had read each of your answers, and it was good to see that you all were able to relate it, you all were able to do it. Okay, so that was the good thing about it. And basically where I had said that you can talk about a organization or a firm, it can, some of you did ask me that could it be a local business in Bhutan. I said yes. Or is it an incident which I have seen in my through my eyes? I have was the evidence. I was the evidence there. Yes, you can do that. That also is there. Is something which has happened, or is happening, or is going to happen, which you know is happening. There is evidence for it. I need evidence. Okay, not some fictitious stories. Okay, so these were the things. Now let's start with today's class, the teaching. So I will start with Unit 7, which is communication. And yeah, so let's actually start today's class, right? Okay, so when we talk of communication, right? So communication, when we say what is communication, the first thing that comes up is what is communication. Now communication, which we all know, communication is it's not just a word, just talking, you know. It's a two-way, it's a two-way interactive session. It's a two-way interactive session, and not just saying anything, but where people are able to understand each other, people are able to understand what your information that you're sharing, your ideas, and can also communicate to you, respond back to you. So it actually means is what, you have some idea in your head, but you need to put that idea in a concrete form so that people can understand. So you need to translate that idea or information or your feelings into a form where people can understand, they can react to it, they can give answers, they can give feedback, and that's how it should be going. So it's basically, when we talk of, it's basically a means of connecting with each other, connecting people, connecting places. So, and it's important for every organization. If there is absence of proper communication, management cannot function. And I said that you need to have a two-way communication system. Otherwise, you cannot work. Like from the top order, top level, all the instructions, directions, decisions are being made. It percolates down to the lower level employees. And when the employees are actually working according to it, if they have any doubts, if they have any queries, if they have any problems, they should be able to give feedback. The instruction should be clear, and employees should be able to give feedback, and which the top level should be willing to accept. And that's how it should be working. Okay. Okay. Next comes up. Now this is a very big statement that we have. This is a statement which is from a very famous novelist, Bernard Shaw, like you must have heard, who says that, you know, the biggest problem is in communication, which is the big problem that we face, is that we are under an illusion, we are under the concept that it has taken place. Communication means, you know what, you're thinking, if you're not happy with something, but you feel you're not happy, and we do not say sometimes, and we expect people to understand that we are not happy. So we are under that illusion, we are under that misconception that yes, I'm not happy with things, people should understand. People have understood, people may not have understood because you have not been able to tell it. So but we are under that misconception. That's the problem of communication. Like We feel we have said, we feel people have understood, we feel people have followed everything, but may not be, because we have not checked, we have not communicated, we have not translated our ideas in the right way. So that's the biggest problem. Okay, let's talk of the communication process. Now, how does communication take place? The first, if you see, this is a total chain that we have, right? It's a total chain that is going on. See this? Full chain that is, sorry, full chain. Okay, it's a cyclical process. Now, the first comes up, starts with the idea, developing of the idea. If, for instance, right, what's happening that I have some concept in my head, I want to have an idea, and I want to share with you, with all of you, that idea. Now, what happens? I need to first develop that concept, develop the idea in my head, right? It has to be there, that needs to be there. It cannot be some vague things which does not happen, which cannot happen in reality. It should be something which is realistic. And so what happens in this case, this is a stage where I need to actually start planning, thinking, how do I make this a reality? I have an idea, I have to give it a shape, I have to plan it properly. Okay, because only when I plan, only can I when I can give it a proper shape, can I actually inform or discuss with others. If I am not clear in my head, I cannot discuss with others. So that's the first thing that we have, like developing the idea. Now, once the idea is developed, the next stage comes up is encoding. Encoding is when I actually put that idea into a reality. I make it visible to people. Okay. Otherwise, what happens? Like, I have this idea. If it's not visible, if people are not able to see it, then it's difficult. How are people going to respond to it? How are people going to actually give feedback? So it needs to be translated. That's the exact code, exact terminology in the management world, that I need to translate my idea into a reality, into something which people can see, people can understand. Okay, and which can be communicated to others. After that comes up, the next is the message. Okay, so message, when I know I have an idea, I have developed it, it is something which I may translated that idea into a reality, then I need to send that idea, send it or communicate it to others. That is called message. Message, communicating the idea to the others. Okay, to whom I want to actually listen to that idea, want them to be familiarized with it. It could be anyone, it could be one person, it could be multiple. Now, how can that be done? Either when I have an open discussion, oral discussion, it could be written form, it could be either through the help of some signs, anything. It could be through my body language, it could be anything. So it could be verbal or non-verbal. Now, how is this done? I am using different methods to send this to have the message, but I need to send this message to the receiver whom I want to know, or I want them to receive. So there has to be so when we talk of the medium is the channel. It's the channel for transmitting the message, for sending the message to the receiver. I need to do that. How? Like it should be like people, whatever way it can be through someone, it can be through, like, I'm quite vocal enough, I'm talking in front of the person, I have to make it understand, I have to ensure that the person understands. That's the medium. I have to ensure that people understand. The message reaches the right person. Select the way. Select the way. It could be through social media. It could be when I call the person. It could be any way. And talking in the right way. Calling doesn't mean I can talk to him. Calling on the telephone or talking to a person doesn't mean the idea is being sent. Talking in the right way, that's the medium. Talking in the right way so that it reaches the right person at the right time. Now, once it reaches, then what happens? Then this is where the job of the sender finishes. Then comes up is the transmission of message. Okay, so what happens here? That this is where the sender, like me, who's having that idea, I am actually sending it to the receiver whom I want to actually understand that. This is where using the right medium, have the right message, using the right medium, I send it to the receiver. I ensure it that the receiver receives this message. That's my job. I have to ensure, and that's where my job ends. Next comes up is once it's received by the receiver, then what happens? That's where this is where the receiver, like you, if I have to tell you something, your perception comes into play. How well you are able to understand what I have said. You should be able to understand also what I'm trying to tell you. Otherwise, it doesn't help. I can tell so many things, or but whether you understood what I'm trying to say, that's important. So it's your job. My job finishes here. I'm sending it off. Your job is comes up here. Like say for instance, when we take class here, we are discussing class. I'm talking of different concepts. I'm using different examples. I'm showing you sometimes videos. I'm giving you videos. So sometimes some materials, PPTs are there. So I'm ensuring that it reaches you. You are able to understand. That's what I can do maximum. But if it is really understood by you means you will have to understand what I'm trying to communicate. So it's your job also as a student. If you are able to understand what I'm exactly trying to say, then it's only we can say that yes, that the process is going on smoothly. That's why I always ask you at the time, at the end of the class, do you have any questions? Because I want to make it sure that you have really understood here. Okay, so it's your perception, how well you have your capacity to actually receive that message. Now, once you receive that message, then comes up is decoding. Decoding is interpretation of the message. What does the message mean to you? Does it mean the same as what I had said? My message and your message, the message that you have received, is it the same? Have you understood? Are we on the same page? Or is there some miscommunication that you understood something, I have wanted to say something? So that has to be there. And how do we really get to know? We get to know when we have this feedback session. So based on what you have understood, you start giving your feedback, what you understood, whether you understood certain things or not, and if there are any questions. So through this feedback session, I will get to know whether whatever the idea that I wanted to transmit it to you, convey to you, whether you really understood or not through this feedback session. So as I said, feedback is not criticism, it's a way of discussion. Discussion for a better communication, for a better professional relationship, better relationship. And that is needed for any organization to grow. Okay. This is, see this is back to back communication. Means what? You are saying something this side. Nobody knows what's happening. You're thinking something, saying something. This person here is looking somewhere else, doesn't even know what you're trying to think, what you're trying to say, because you're saying, so what happens in such a case? Ideas may not be translated properly. That's the problem. Okay. This is what we've discussed. This is the last topic for today. That is the 7 C's for effective communication. To have effective communication, you need to have 7 criteria. These are called the 7 C's. Okay. The first one is correctness. Correctness means language, using of the right language. That is grammar, spelling, punctuation. You see, when you are writing all your assessments, there is one component which says language. That's what, and I've been giving you feedback that whatever you are thinking, you're thinking it. But if you're not able to convey to me in the right way, If your language is too complicated, if your sentences are too jumbled up, if you're writing answer one sentence, everything so and thus and therefore, hence, it's one full thing, one sentence which is covered. Your answer is one sentence, but it's a huge one. It's difficult for people to understand. So there, it's a problem if you have to. It does not talk about effective communication. So effective communication, when we say, it has to be proper language. That's why I said use short sentences, simple words. It's easy for people to understand. Okay, right spelling, right grammar, right punctuation. Next comes up is clarity. Now, clarity is what happens is whatever you're trying to say, clarity comes from the word clear. Whatever you're trying to say, your message, that must be clear. What exactly are you trying to say? Please convey it in a proper way. Please make it very clear that people understand what you're trying to say. What are your arguments? What are your thoughts? What are your feedback? That needs to be there. The third thing that comes up here is when we talk conciseness. Concise is to be precise. Okay, don't start talking rubbish things on and on and on. These thing, that, which doesn't make any sense. Irrelevant things. Concise means to be precise because neither the sender nor the receiver has any time. There's time constraint in an organization, right? So be precise, to the point. What exactly are you trying to say? Be very much precise on the target, bang on target. This is what I'm trying to say. I have objection to this, or this is what you are talking of this. I have something to say to this. Why can't we do this? Make it precise. Not say that your presentation was good and it was so nice the way you said. I was saying no, those are not required. Just say. That's important. Okay. Okay, and when you're talking, when you're saying this, you need to have proper arguments. When you're giving your ideas, you cannot just say anything. I think this should happen. I think that should not happen. Why? I think so. That is not an answer. You need to have proper arguments, proper reasons, proper justification. Okay. Next comes up is when we talk of completeness. Now, completeness means when you are giving your answer, when you're sharing information, it has to be a complete information, not half information. Half information can create problem, miscommunication, misunderstanding. Because if you don't share properly, if you want people to know about it, about an incident, about an idea, about a project, and you want them to actually participate, give them feedback, so you have to give complete information to get complete answer. Otherwise, it's difficult. Next comes up is consideration. Consideration is like what happens is, like for instance, when I'm talking to you, right? I'm taking the class. I can use highly sophisticated language. I can do that. I can start explaining in a highly sophisticated language, a very complicated way, because I feel I'm able to understand, I convey to you. But that's not a thing. It's not how much I know. It's how far are you being able to understand. I have to put myself in your position because you are here to learn. I'm here to guide you. I am here to teach you, guide you. So I should be able to convey to you in a message, in a way which you are able to understand. So when I talk to you, I have to also take it in mind whether you are able to understand that or not. Am I talking in a language which you are able to understand? Am I saying things which you are able to understand? If I say all complicated terms, all let's say the technical terms, if I start talking only in technical terms, it'll be difficult for you. It's not incorrect what I'm talking, but it'll be difficult for you. So it's not, in other words, what it means is the sender of the message who's sending should not start showing their knowledge, how much they know. It should be a situation where the sender should think whether the receiver is able to understand or not. So the sender has to talk in the language of the receiver. So when in an organization, in a corporate house, what happens is when the first line of managers, when they talk to the employees, the workers in the factory, they will talk in their language. That's quite crude, you know. When you go to the factory, you hear factory people talking. The language is quite crude. That's the natural way they talk. So the first line of managers should be talking to them, the workers in the factory or the employees in in their language, which they are able to understand. But parallelly, when the first line of managers, when they are talking with the middle level managers or the top level managers, they will be talking in a more sophisticated language, which is prevalent in the managerial world, which the top level and the middle level management will be able to understand. So you have to think with whom you are talking, and accordingly you should be talking in their language, which they are able to understand. It's not to insult, but that's the language in which they can understand. Okay, the next that comes up is concreteness. After consideration, we have concreteness. Concreteness is also where we are talking about, like when we say some information, when we talk of something, when we say like okay, like I have this, I have an idea I want to share with you, or this is a project, so I have to share with you, so I have some information, but my idea should be something which should be realistic in nature, which should make sense. It should not be vague. It should not be some general comments. There should be a clear message there. There should be clear arguments in there. Clear information should be there. Concreteness comes from the word concrete, which is realistic, which makes sense. If my idea does not make sense, nobody can talk to me. If my talk doesn't make sense, I'm talking something rubbish, something which doesn't make sense, which cannot happen in reality. Nobody can actually cooperate. People are going to neglect me. People are going to laugh at me. So that needs to be there. And the last thing that we talk of is courtesy. Courtesy is our behavior, you know, our moral values. Like we should be also, like what happens is when we have an idea, we have to also, when we are conveying it to people, that's where the professional work comes into play. But we should also have some moral values. We should know how to talk. We cannot be rude. We cannot start using slang languages. We cannot start shouting. Courtesy comes from the word courteous. Okay, polite words, gestures. Maybe people are, if you, when you're working in an organization, people are working there who are your subordinates, right? They are your subordinates. Then what happens? You cannot actually tell them, okay, no, you will stand there, or you cannot do this, you cannot do this. You cannot just point out fingers at them. You have to be polite to them because they are your colleagues. So that's important. Okay, the last thing that we talked today is, yeah, these were the things that we were talking. The importance of effective communication in management. Okay, what is the importance? Why do we need to have effective communication? First thing, if the communication system is clear, if there's a clear understanding between the sender and the receiver, what happens? We can discuss together how to come up with new technologies, how to develop new skills, because new project coming up, there are new technologies which has been developed. If our organization has to grow, there has to be new technologies, there has to be new skills. So if that is developed, that if we can have a clear understanding, so what happens? People also know how to use the technology. They know that these are the skills that is required, so proper training can be given, so efficiency increases. So when efficiency increases, efficiency of the employees increases, you have a type of technologies. So what happens? The quality of the products and the services that is being given, that also improves. That's also much better. Okay, the next that comes up is the third one, which talks of subordinates communicate problems and solutions for increasing quality to superiors. If you have a proper communication system, this is where I'm talking of a two-way communication system. If I have an organization and I have, say, 1,000 people working under me, I have given some instructions from the top and the low level, through the middle level, and then to the low level management. Employees are then working. Yeah, I have so many people working under me, and they are working. They are facing problems. They can have problems that they are the ones who are facing doing the actual work. They're facing. They are interacting with the stakeholders. Problems are coming up, feedbacks coming up, and they know what they can come up with their suggestions on what could be the solution. So they should be able to communicate to me. See, these are the this is the problem that we faced when we implement this situation, implement this idea, and this could be some of the ways we can solve it. So what happens if that happens, and there's a two-way communication system, proper communication, so it helps in improving the increasing the quality comes up, better solution comes up. Okay, and when we have a proper communication system, what happens? Our responsiveness towards the to the customers also increases. Why? Customers are giving feedback. If we are able to actually take the feedback in the right way and also give right information to our customers, that helps. Customers is our stakeholders. If we do not have customers, business stops. Okay, the last that comes up is more innovation through communication. When we have communication happening, proper communication, what happens? Encouraging of new ideas come into play because new problems are coming up, which leads to new ideas. People are talking, discussing. So it's not that I'm sitting there at the top and making all the decisions. There's a discussion happening throughout the organization. People are brainstorming, coming up with new ideas, so which helps in new innovation. That's all that we have for today's class. Now, what I would actually want you all to tell me is I'm leaving the floor open for you. So you all tell me what queries, doubts you have with whatever I said. Is there any questions if you have anything? Anyone has any questions, any clarification, anything that you want me to say? I do not hear from anyone.
Ma'am, I didn't understand concreteness, ma'am.
Concreteness. Okay, when we talk of concrete, right? Concrete is to be when we talk of something specific. Okay, somewhere concrete, specific. You can not to give any vague arguments, which does not make any sense, or vague statements. Sometimes we say, no, don't talk vaguely. What does this mean? This doesn't make any sense. What are you talking? We tell to each other that this does not make sense. Or sometimes when you write, I tell you that these things did not make any sense when you're talking to me. That whenever you're saying something, you have an idea, you have something, you want to convey your message, but it should be something which makes sense, concrete here, which makes sense, not some vague statements which people are not able to understand, which also means you're not able to communicate properly. So whatever you have to say, it should be something which you are able to communicate, which makes sense. There are some arguments to suffer to actually justify your idea, your comments. Okay, so it cannot be, and it cannot be something very general. It has to be precise. When we say communication, effective communication, it has to be something very precise, not general talks. General talks is when we just sit and chit chat with our friends. That's a different thing. But when we work anyway, when the work comes into play, we cannot have general talks. It has to be precise, to the point, what you want to say with your justification. Is it okay, Benjor?
Understood, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? Anyone else have?
Ma'am,
Yes, tell me.
could you please explain the courtesy again, ma'am?
Courtesy.
Yes, ma'am.
Courtesy is to being polite. When we talk, say what happens is like today, if I'm taking your class, right? I'm telling that when I once I finish the class, say for instance, okay. So if I say, if you when you are telling me today, you are telling me that, ma'am, I have some questions, right? Because I'm asking you, do you anyone has any questions? Please tell me, clarify. And you're seeing that I'm actually clarifying it to you, I'm explaining it to you, trying to ensure that you're able to understand, right? What I if it was something like where I was very rude, and if you had asked me this question and I said, huh, you don't understand this, what are you doing, what were you doing, what were you listening, You don't know these things. So that's being very rude. When if I start thinking, oh, I know everything, and those who are sitting with me, those who are listening to me, should be able to understand. If they don't understand, then what sort of people are they? Then they are of no use. If I have that kind of attitude, then what will happen? Tomorrow you are not going to tell me anything. What will you say when I say, have you understood? You will say, oh, yes, madam. And you will not say also. So that should not be the thing. Like, it should not be that because I know means I expect everyone to know. That's not the thing. It can happen that you have your doubts, you have your clarifications, you have your problems, but I should be polite. I should be nice to you. I should be make it a point to make you feel comfortable and ensure that you understand. My behavior also talks, not just my knowledge, but my behavior, how I talk. That is also very, very important in effective communication. Because only if I'm nice with you, only if I'm able to talk with you politely, able to understand your situation, will you be also cooperative? Will you be also willing to listen to what I'm saying? Otherwise it doesn't help, because I'm in a, my like, I'm in a higher position than you. I start misusing my power, my position, and be rude with you because you're as students, you're not my faculty, you're not my colleagues. I can, if I misbehave with you, then it will not work. So it's a similar thing in the corporate house. Whatever your position is, you cannot be rude to each other. You can't do that. You have to talk with them, because everyone is colleague at the end of the day. Every one of them are colleagues. You have to give due respect. If you want people to work with you, if you want people to cooperate with you, you have to give due respect. You have to treat everyone as humans. You may, whatever feelings you may have inside, you may get irritated with someone, but you cannot show it on the face. Why you're getting irritated? Why? Because you say, oh, this person does not understand. So many times I'm telling, but you have to understand also that person deaf must be seriously not able to understand. Follow what you're saying. So you have to think from their position, and you cannot just be rude with them. Okay? Is that clear, Kinzam? Kinzam.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Uh, Anyone else has any questions? Is there any
Ma'am,
question? Yes, tell me.
in the communication process, the second process is encoding, ma'am, and
Encoding.
yes, ma'am. And it states that it is the process of converting the main
Yes.
idea into a
Right,
perceivable form, ma'am.
right, right.
What does that perceivable form is? What
Okay,
kind of?
okay. Let me explain to you. uh like, say for instance, like when we say, let's say, like, if I tell you, like, okay, I'm giving you a project on communication, right? Effective communication. So I want each of you to think of a project, think of some ideas, concepts, how to come up with effective communication. So you are actually thinking, right? So when you're thinking about it, so what happens? You're thinking, but we don't know what you're thinking. If you, and you want suggestions from us, you want to communicate to us, you want to tell us. So your idea, you need to give it a form. You have to try. That's what called give it a form, means to translate. Okay, give it a form where we can understand what you're saying, what your idea is, so that it's quite visible to us. Visible doesn't mean only some, say, concrete something. It's ideas can also be visible. If you are able to convey to us, this is my idea. So when you're talking to discussing with us, you have to give your plan. So this, I have this idea, and this is how I'm thinking of it. This is my planning. So what happens? This is something concrete. This is something visible for us to understand. So that's what it means encoding, translating your idea into a form that people can understand. People can understand. Kinzang, is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Any others have any questions? Is there anyone who has any questions? Does any one of you have any more questions?
No, ma'am.
No. Okay. So if you do not have any question, so what I'll do is I'll just talk to you about today's assessment that we have, which actually talks about communication, right? Communication here, like which is the problem that we face in communication. That if it's no effective communication is not happening, so what can be done? What can be done to actually ensure that people that the communication takes place? That's the main thing. Like that's a problem. Today's topic is on the communication. The problem with effective communication. Okay, so what I want you all to actually do is before you actually start working on this, read it thoroughly once more, right? And then see the grading criteria. You cannot hear me properly. Okay, just a moment. Okay. Can you hear me now? Let's see what you have to say.
There's still some glitches, ma'am.
It's a problem like a vaguely. Okay, just a moment, please. It is something to do with not with mine from my side, but it is something to do with the server. Nothing from my side today. Okay, it has to do with the server. That's why the problem is coming up with the sound. That's what I checked today. Okay, so what I'm trying to tell you today is like if we see the situation analysis that you have, see the case, it is talking about miscommunication when people do not communicate properly, what can happen and what can be done in such situation. So when you are actually working on this, see the marking criteria. Think of it carefully, write in your own words. If by chance you are referring from somewhere, give the references. That's what I'm trying to tell you. It has to be your own words. If by chance you're referring from somewhere, give the references. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Okay, is it clear with all of you? Is this clear with all of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so that's all that we have for today, and you all can now proceed and start with your
Ma'am,
yes. Tell me
in the question it is stated that the word limit should be 150. Could we exceed it, ma'am?
what could be done
Can we
to solve
exceed the
to address the
word
issue,
limit,
right?
ma'am?
Yeah. So in this case, what basically happens is you have to think, put yourself in that position, put yourself in that position, and you think what can be done to address that issue, what can be done, and then look into the marking criteria and start working onto it. Think of yourself, put yourself in that position. How will you address that issue? How will you solve that issue so that there is effective communication system? Okay, is that clear till now? Till now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, right. So that's all that we have for you today, and this recording will also be shared with you on the YouTube, and I'll share the link with you. Okay, okay then. Right. See you next class.
Thank you,
Thank
ma'am.